Alright guys, back for another week of transfer speculation. Got plenty to talk over in today's video with done deals, more managerial talk, and a bunch of rumours going around the championship right now. As always, I'd like to hear from you guys in the comments down below. A lot of teams back in pre-season action now, with the pre-season fixtures soon to start as well, so plenty of championship content to sink our teeth into over these next few weeks. But without any further ado, let's jump in. And we'll start out with some managerial talk and Sheffield Wednesday. Is there ever a dull day at Hillsborough? There always seems to be some drama kicking off. Well, as things stand, it does appear as if Dean Smith is the overwhelming favourite for the Sheffield Wednesday job, going off the bookmakers, what the journalists are saying at this point in time, and as of recording, he is the overwhelming favourite, and more might have been announced by the time you guys are watching this video. We also had an absolutely fascinating club statement come out from Sheffield Wednesday as well, from Cairney, which I'd urge all championship fans to read. It was absolutely fascinating, basically talking about the Darren Moore departure and how it went down from Cairney's point of view. He basically clarified that Darren Moore was looking for a 3-year deal and asking for 4 times his current salary. Now, it's tough to make an overall judgment on those comments, as of right now we've only got Cairney's side of things and we don't know the full ins and outs of what Darren Moore's contract was looking like with Sheffield Wednesday while they were in League One. But as things stand, it does seem as if Dean Smith is the name on everyone's lips. Wednesday fans, would you be happy with that? And it's looking like Daniel Farke will be announced as the new Leeds United manager. I'm recording this on Thursday evening. By the time you guys are watching this on Friday, you'll have more information. It may have even been announced by that point. I am quite excited about this one. It has been a long time coming. Leeds and their managerial search at one point seemed like they were on Vieira. They were quite keen on Brendan Rodgers, it seemed, at one point before he went to Celtic, but ultimately landing on Daniel Farke, who has been linked with the Leeds job for quite some time. From his 3 full seasons in the Championship, 2 promotions during that time, both with Norwich, and given the right resources at this level, is capable of knitting together some brilliantly scintillating football. Those 2 Norwich promotions were absolutely fantastic to watch, and while he's never quite been able to stick it in the Premier League, I think at this level that's a very good appointment. Then hopping over to some done deals, we saw Tottenham seal up a deal for Leicester City's James Maddison. Did appear as if it would be a move to either Tottenham or Newcastle, but it was the North London club who got the deal over the line in the end. £40 million to Leicester. We expected Maddison to be on the move. A few other of those sellable assets I also expect to leave Leicester this summer, but this deal now could have quite the domino effect on the rest of the Championship. Leicester are going to be going into the transfer market this summer with serious funding behind them as they look to go ahead and rebuild their squad. We also saw Paul Smythe returning to Queen's Park Rangers after a couple seasons with Leyton Orient, where he's impressed in League 2. He's made his move back to QPR and the Championship. He'll look to add a little bit more firepower from that right hand side. We saw Keane Kesler-Hayden completing move over to Plymouth on a season-long loan from Aston Villa. Really excited to see how this loan deal works out, because last season it felt like his progression just stalled a little bit. Didn't feel like that move to Huddersfield on loan was the best for either party in the end, Huddersfield or the player, and after coming off the back of 2 really progressive loan spells before that with Swindon and MK Dons, his career progress just sort of stalled a little bit. We all know the success Plymouth have had in the loan market though over these last few years, last season in particular, and we said that would be a strength of theirs coming up to the Championship this season as well, and I think there's a lot more to come from the Aston Villa youngster than what we saw last season in the Huddersfield shirt. We also saw Birmingham get a deal over the line for Christian Bielik from Derby County. We expected this one to go through and spoke about it in a little bit more detail in last time's video, but another solid bit of business there, I think, from Birmingham. Watford sealed up a deal for Tom Ince. We spoke about him in the previous transfer rumour roundup video, and that deal has since gone through. But those are some of the done deals we've seen go through in the Championship over these past couple of days. Now, without any further ado, let's hop into some rumours. And so we'll start out with Leicester, because we have plenty of Leicester rumours to go through right now, but it seems as if a deal is close for Connor Cody. As of recording, seems as if he is doing his medical with Leicester, as a £7.5 million deal has been agreed between Leicester and Wolves. It's an interesting one. We spoke about Cody potentially dropping down to the Championship a few videos ago. I thought there'd be maybe 1 or 2 offers in there from the Premier League, which he'd be tempted to go for, but Leicester have done quite well to tempt him down considering their now status as a Championship club. Now Coady spent last season out on loan at Everton, and Everton did have the option to sign Coady for just 4.5 million. So financially, I think Wolves have actually got a decent deal here, to be honest. When they could have lost him for 4.5 million to Everton, they've managed to squeeze a little bit more out of Leicester. In terms of Coady coming to the Championship though, I think he'll be a really classy operator at this level. He is 30 years old, but he's someone who I still think Leicester can get plenty more years of service out of, and you know, with them expecting to be right up there at the top end of the Championship this season, a personality like Coady who's more than capable of being one of the top defenders in the Championship next season. I think it's a good deal for Leicester, albeit I also think that Wolves have done quite well to get 7.5 million for him. And Leicester have also agreed a deal for Tottenham midfielder Harry Winks, and a deal worth up to £10 million. Now that does seem quite steep, but I'm sure there was a little bit of wiggle room with this deal perhaps involved with James Maddison going in the opposite direction. And Winks is an interesting one. Obviously he does have a bundle of Premier League experience. Did spend last season out on loan in Italy with Sampdoria, and overall was a bit of a frustrating loan spell for him. He missed the first half of the season with an ankle injury, managed to get himself back fit then for the second half of the season, ultimately starting 19 matches. Dropping down to the Championship, I mean, no doubts that someone like Winks has the potential to be one of the best midfielders at this level, whatever you can say about him at Premier League level, and while he's not always hit the heights that were expected of him maybe at Tottenham, if he stays fit, I think he could breeze it in the Championship. Leicester's links to Tom Cairney have popped up once again this week as well. Earlier on in the transfer window, this link did emerge and the talks have since popped up once again. Now the 32-year-old is a classy operator in the Championship, one of the best midfielders I think we've had in the Championship over those, you know, past 5 or so seasons when Cairney had those promotion years with Fulham. This one very much depends on what Fulham want to do with the player. They have the option to extend Cairney's stay with them until at least 2025. Played somewhat of a bit part role last season, did feature in 32 Premier League matches, but only 6 of those were starts. He's clearly still rated though within that Fulham setup, and as they've sort of managed his minutes quite carefully over this last season or two, will be at Fulham's discretion really whether or not they'd be tempted to the sale and how Cairney sees this one. It's also been reported that Swansea are bracing for a bid from Leicester City for star man Joel Perreault. We expect plenty of interest in the front man this summer after 2 really impressive seasons in the Championship, 41 goals over these last couple of seasons for Perreault. Now along with Leicester, Southampton and an unnamed Serie A club are also said to be interested in him, but tensions perhaps between Swansea and Southampton with how the Russell Martin deal went down maybe sours that one a little bit. We know that Leicester have money to spend, and I wouldn't be all too surprised to see that deal going through. Potential outgoing at Leicester, Jamie Vardy had been linked with a move to Saudi Arabia, but Vardy himself has reportedly rejected any offers coming in from Saudi side Khalij FC. Now Vardy himself isn't said to be keen on any move that sort of way, as it wouldn't be a fit for him and his family. He's only got 1 year remaining on his contract at Leicester, and it seems as if those discussions over his future will take place over the next week or two. Both Hull and Middlesbrough are understood to have submitted bids for QPR goalkeeper Seny Dieng. Now Dieng's an interesting one. He's a goalkeeper who in years gone by I have rated quite highly, but last season I don't think he was particularly great, both on the eye and looking at some of his underlying numbers. He underperformed his post-shot expected goals by 3.6 goals last season, which from a shot-stopping perspective isn't great. I'd like to get some QPR fans' perspectives on this one down below. How do you rate Dieng after the season he's just come off, and what would you currently be valuing him at? At his best, when he has got his confidence right up there, still think capable of being a very good goalkeeper at this level, but going off some of the other goalkeepers both Hull and Middlesbrough have been linked to of late, I'd be a little bit more pensive over this deal maybe, just because of last season. Quite an interesting transfer line this one, Huddersfield being interested in the move for Wigan forward Callum Lang. Now last season was a little bit of a disappointing one from Lang's perspective. He was coming off the back of a 15 goal and 7 assist season in League One, and he couldn't quite translate those numbers into Championship football. A lot of that Wigan squad just seemed a little bit undercooked and underprepared for Championship football really, and he only scored 1 goal and got 4 assists last season. Huddersfield have obviously seen enough though to register an interest in the player. Now getting him out of Wigan may be tougher than some people realise. He is contracted with them until 2025 and has spent his entire career so far with the club after rising through the youth academy there. So 24 years old. I actually don't think that another season in League One would do his development all too much harm at the moment. I think that could be the best thing for him, but Huddersfield have clearly seen the potential there, and we'll wait and see if any bids go in over these next few days and weeks. Burnley are said to be preparing another bid for Millwall forward Zian Fleming. Having already had 2 offers knocked back so far, it seems as if Vincent Kompany's side aren't giving up just yet on the Millwall forward. Now, it would take, it seems, a quite substantial fee to get him out of Millwall. Millwall have already started their recruitment quite well, and I mean, from a selfish point of view, I'd love to see Fleming sticking it out in the Championship next season with Millwall. I think a potential partnership between him floating off Nisbet could be really fun and exciting at the Den next season, but money talks, and it'll all be a question of whether or not Burnley are prepared to meet Millwall's valuation of the player. As of the latest reports, it's looking like Victor Gyökeres will be moving over to Sporting Lisbon. Now, there have been plenty of Premier League interest in Gyökeres. We've covered him in pretty much every Championship transfer rumour roundup video so far. But the latest talk going around is that a deal of around 17 million could have been agreed with Coventry, with a potential 35% sell-on clause in that deal as well. And all things taken into consideration, I think that would be a cracking deal for Coventry, considering Gyökeres only has 1 more year to run on his deal with Coventry. We spoke previously about his comments and how much Gyökeres wants to move himself this summer. I think that's only right, you know, after some good years of service at Coventry, and they themselves will get a really good fee for him and potentially be able to reinvest that into the rest of the squad. Swansea forward Morgan Whittaker is being linked with a move to Coventry. It's been spoken about like he's the potential successor to Gyökeres. I don't quite see it that way. I think if Coventry were to go in for Whittaker, it's more than likely that he'd be a replacement for the outgoing Tyler Walker or Sean Maguire. I don't think that Whittaker is quite at that level of Gyökeres, and I think that Coventry will be in the market for a couple more forwards this summer. But plenty of Championship clubs, as we previously discussed, are interested in the 22-year-old, as well as Rangers, who have held an interest for quite some time in the Swansea forward. This one will be a very interesting transfer link. Rotherham United been linked with a move to Christ High. He impressed during the second half of last season, I thought, with Wigan Athletics, but in the second half of last season on loan with the Latics, obviously couldn't keep them up in the end, but I thought that in his relatively short stint he impressed and definitely would warrant a move to the Championship next season. Plymouth Argyle have been knocked back in their attempts to sign Terry Taylor. Now, the 22-year-old is out of contract this summer, but due to his age, Burton will be due a compensation fee, so it's up to Plymouth to maybe up their offer if they do want to get this deal over the line. A few other clubs are said to be interested. Cardiff from the Championship, another club looking into this deal, but with their embargo at the moment, I'm not sure how that would work in terms of being able to pay the compensation package, but definitely want to keep your eye on over the next few days. Newcastle remain in discussions with Southampton when it comes to a deal for Tino Livramento, one of Southampton's saleable assets coming down to the Championship this season. I anticipate things to hot up at Southampton over these next couple of weeks now that Martin has been officially unveiled. It's all been a little bit slow at Southampton so far, but like we've seen an explosion of rumours coming out of Leicester recently, I think we'll get a similar occurrence happening with Southampton, especially as a few of these potential outgoings do get sealed off. But Livramento, how much would you Saints fans be holding out for? Certainly more than the 15 million that was originally put up by Newcastle. Luis Sinisterra is a player of interest for plenty of European clubs. AC Milan, the latest club to be linked to the Leeds United winger. Now, as of yet, no formal bids or concrete negotiations have taken place for him, but he does seem to be on Milan's radar going off some of the recent reports. Now, Sinisterra is a player who I'd love to see in the Championship next season. In glimpses last season in the Premier League, I think he showcased what it was all about. Yes, his injury record hasn't been great over the last few years. He did miss quite a lot of football last season for Leeds, but at his best, I mean, he is a player who's more than capable of lighting it up in the Championship, and I want more of those players in the league next season, really. But despite his injury record, he is a player who is still valued very highly by Leeds United, and we'll have to watch this space over the next few weeks and months if any big offers do come in from some European outfits. Looks as if Millwall are getting closer to finalising a deal for Joe Bryan. I'd be all over this one. As a Millwall fan, once again, very promising recruitment. We talked about this one in a little bit more detail in the previous video. Cardiff are said to be interested in the move for Yaku Meite, the forward who is now free agent after leaving Reading. Is a player of interest for plenty of clubs. You can see why. 42 goals in 156 appearances for Reading in the Championship. Now Cardiff are in quite a unique situation at the moment where they are having to deal with loans and free transfers for this summer window, as they are still under an embargo and can't spend any transfer fees. The problem with the deal for Meite is it does seem that he is more likely to head abroad as of right now. Watford have been linked with a move for Islam Slimani, a name which I've not heard in quite a while, but we know the type of football that Ishmael will be looking to play at Watford next season, and so it makes sense they're looking for a striker in that sort of target man mould. Slimani certainly would add plenty of experience. He's 35 years old and is available on a free transfer this summer. Had a good spell with Anderlecht in the second half of last season, scored 8 goals in 10 league appearances for them, but a few more clubs from around Europe are also said to be interested. Ipswich Town are said to be interested in Nottingham Forest forward Sam Surridge, another ambitious move for Ipswich. We've spoken about them quite a bit over the last couple of videos, but the 24-year-old sort of played a bit part role for Forest in the Premier League last season, just 1 league start and then 19 appearances off the bench. He's a really interesting one who I've had sort of differing opinions on over the years. At Bournemouth originally, thought he was a really promising prospect, then made his move over to Stoke where I wasn't quite convinced about the player, but then he made that move over to Nottingham Forest and did really well in their promotion push in the end and getting them up to the Premier League. So for a side like Ipswich where they're at, someone like Surridge at 24 years old who can be developed, it would be another sensible pickup, I think. By all accounts, it looks as if Josh Ginnelly is on his way to Swansea City. A few Championship clubs were said to be interested in the winger, but after a successful season with Hearts, he decided not to extend his contract with the Scottish club and so is available on a free transfer. He's an interesting one. He did have a spell at my club, Preston North End, earlier on in his career, and things just didn't quite pan out for him at Deepdale. Maybe the move came a little bit too soon for him, didn't quite seem up to scratch for Championship football, but on the other side of things, we didn't really afford him that many first team opportunities. He's since gone back to Scotland to build up his career and has done really well for Hearts, and I think justifiably so has got this move to Swansea. So I'll certainly be keeping an eye on that one. Certainly adds a bit of trickery and pace to that Swansea side for next season. Well guys, there we have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and do stick around and subscribe for some regular Championship content. Thanks for watching though guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.